NewsHour political reporter Dan Bush is in Columbia, South Carolina. He joins me now with the latest on the primary there. Dan, you've been there for a few days now. You've talked to different types of communities. What is the thing that's driving their interest in this primary?
Well, Hari, the number one thing for so many voters is electability. They want to see a Democrat emerge from this crowded primary field, still crowded, with a bunch of people there at the top, who can beat President Donald Trump. That's what voters told me again and again across the state in the last couple of days. They want a Democrat who is electable. They all agree on that. However, the party voters are still very divided about who they think can do the best job. Down here in South Carolina, former Vice President Joe Biden has been leading in polls, so there are a lot of voters leaning in his direction. But more progressive voters are still looking at Bernie Sanders here in South Carolina, and also Pete Buttigieg as well. Those are the three that are sort of standing out the most. Mm-hmm. And the billionaire environmentalist Tom Steyer has been doing well here as well.
And why his impact? Is it just about the amount of money that he's able to spend on the ground?
That's what sources tell me, yeah. And when you're here in South Carolina, he has his presence is everywhere. Field offices and posters and signage, organizers. So he has put a lot of money into South Carolina. He's put all of his eggs into this basket, so to speak, really trying to have a strong showing. It is working. He's also blanketing the state with advertising on television. So we've seen him sort of close the gap and move up in the polls in the last couple of weeks, to the point that, at least in the last couple of days, he's been polling within 10 points of Sanders. So he could potentially come in third place here, which would be a remarkable showing for someone who's never run for office before.
You know, African Americans in South Carolina, a lot of them that we've spoken to in the past say, hey, you know what, politicians come by every 4 years, they want our votes, they tell us what we want to hear, and then they forget us. Is it any different this time?
It's not, Hari. That's a very good point. I spoke to a lot of African-American voters who said just that. A lot of them are going to support Joe Biden, but they did say, we're not confident that Joe Biden or any Democrat will deliver on the promises that they're making. So there is a sense of almost resignation among black voters. One gentleman told me, we're important up until Saturday, today, the primary day, and then we're forgotten, as you said, for the last 4 years. So there is a lot of frustration among that voting group, who feel, a lot of voters told me, that Democrats sort of take their vote for granted, come down here, get it, and then leave.
Are there specific issues that are driving different parts of the electorate? I mean, there's lots and lots of South Carolina that are rural, and a few sort of suburbs and exurbs, and you have a couple of big cities. But really, it's not a very kind of urban-centric state.
That's right. The rural vote here is critical. It's often overlooked. In the 2016 Democratic primary, 66% of the votes cast in South Carolina were cast outside of the three major urban areas of Greenville, Columbia, and Charleston. So the suburban and rural vote here is critical, and the issues there are different. There are poorer, less affluent areas where there's not a lot of access to health care. In a lot of rural parts of the state, folks have to drive 30 minutes or longer just to get to a hospital. Transportation issues, also big from the perspective of a lot of voters I spoke to, who said that they have trouble getting to and from work. Education as well, internet access. You go to rural parts of the state and you see advertisements for internet everywhere. So there's a lot of sort of basic needs that voters want addressed, which voters in cities, on the other hand, sort of have, not everybody, of course, but have more coverage. So you see more progressive Democrats in the urban areas who are moving towards Sanders or Warren, and folks outside of the cities who want sort of the basic things covered.
All right, NewsHour's Dan Bush joining us from Columbia, South Carolina. Hopefully they will not have to keep watching all those ads on TV after tonight there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.